Slow robot, okay. Let's talk about music versus music theory. These two things are different. Music theory is not music, and music is not music theory. Now, that probably sounds obvious and stupid, and maybe it is, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. So, the kind of the reason I want to talk about this is because a lot of musicians tend to kind of gatekeep on music by like looking down their noses on other musicians for not understanding the theoretical stuff that's going on in their music. And that's a real shame because music, like I said, music is not music theory. Music theory is a communication tool so that different musicians can understand what's going on in a piece of music in the moment, and it's used as an analytical tool to understand what's going on after the fact. But it's all after the fact. When you're talking about analysis, it's all after the fact. Like, you don't need to understand what is what kind of chord changes there are, what kind of notes, what kind of scales and keys, time signatures are in a song. When you're writing it, you don't need to know that stuff. If you're playing with other musicians, you may need to know that stuff, or you may want to know that stuff, but it's not a necessary thing for music as a whole. So music is a universal language. There's a reason they call it that. It's because you can play a song for someone and they don't have to have any kind of understanding of the music theory involved in order to get the emotion out of it, get the gist of what's being communicated through that music. And you don't even have to, there's obviously instrumental music. You can hear stuff without any lyrics and you can still understand what's trying to be, what's being communicated through the music. And similarly, you can listen to music in other languages that you don't even speak and still kind of, you may not understand the lyrical content, but you understand the emotional content of the music because it's music and it is a universal language. And so music doesn't require any theoretical training. You can do music, and you should do music if you have even if you have no desire to understand any music theory. It's that gatekeeping is detrimental, and it doesn't help people want to become musicians, because you're creating a hurdle there for something that there's not really a hurdle there. You're trying to put one there so that people can not partake of the thing that you love to do because you want to have some kind of ownership of that, which doesn't make any sense. Like, everybody should want to do music, I think, and everybody should feel welcome to take part in creating something in the world, whether it's music or art or whatever. There should be no gatekeeping. There should be no, oh, you need to know this, and this before you can start doing that. That's silly and ridiculous. So music, from a just production standpoint, from a creation standpoint, all it requires is ears and an opinion. That's all you need. And one of my earlier videos, I talked about the importance of self-awareness, and that kind of plays right into the opinion part of it. You have to know what you like, and you have to understand what kind of feeling you're going for, and you have to work towards that, and you can improve on that. But you can do all that without any theoretical knowledge whatsoever. And so, I mean, this is the reason that this is very important to me, is because I kind of taught myself how to play guitar I did use some theoretical knowledge. I did learn some, chords and, chord shapes on the guitar, and just the basics of, obviously you need to know how to tune your guitar and that kind of thing. So some of that is important, but it's not necessary in order to actually make music. So like, again, like when you think about how music started, right? There was no music theory before there was music, right? The first people who started making music, banging rocks together or whatever, they weren't doing that with any theoretical knowledge. They had none of that. They knew what sounded good to them. They knew what felt good. They knew it felt good to make music, and they did it. And it, that sets in motion the next generation of people making music. And eventually somebody decided, I need to understand why this music works the way it does. And that's where music theory comes in. And again, it's useful. Music theory is a very, very powerful, useful thing, because it does allow you to communicate with other musicians. You can, it kind of depends on the music you want to do too. So like, if you're going to be doing jazz, you probably need to know, like, if you're going to be playing jazz with other musicians in a live setting, you're going to need to know a lot of that theory. You're going to need to have an understanding of how to shape a chord, how to make build a chord, the different, time signatures you'll be using, the different scales that you'll be using. All that stuff is going to be very important, and understanding how to get certain feels out of that stuff is going to be very important. But writ large, music doesn't require that. That's something that is useful, and it's great, in a band setting, because you can say, oh, I'm playing a G, I'm playing a F sharp, whatever it is, and then everybody can be on the same page very quickly. But even that is kind of, if you're doing like pre-written music, like I have been all my life, like I play in a band, The Great Mistake, and I don't have a lot of that theoretical understanding, so I know how to find which notes are on the neck, what I'm playing, but I don't know that off the top of my head. And I've managed to muddle through for almost 20 years now, being in this band, and it sounds great, because we're working to create music that is, we're creating the music. We're dictating what the music is going to be. We're not like just sitting down in a room and jamming, and then everything is working because we all understand, the chord, the key changes and that kind of thing. Like, that's not how we play. So it, like I said, it just depends on the kind of music you're doing too. But, for a lot of people who are doing music for themselves and just using like a program like Reason or whatever kind of music production software you want to use, you don't have to understand how to put a chord together in order to make that work. It's helpful to know the notes on the keyboard. Again, like, I would recommend learning at least the very basics, because that's going to just help you be able to, if you ever do have to communicate with someone else, it will help you. But you don't have to go into, understanding what a G flat suspended 9/17 whatever A D chord is. I don't know any of that stuff, and I get along just fine. And I make some weird chords. I play some weird chords. But yeah, it's really about just hearing what you want to hear. And like, if it's not what you want to hear, you go back and you change it. You say, again, it goes back to the previous video. It's you hear something you like, you keep it. You hear something that's you don't really feel it, try and rework it till you get it to where you do feel it. And it's just a process of iteration to get from point A to a finished song that you're happy with. But again, I mean, it just doesn't require any kind of real, like, theoretical knowledge in order for you to do that. So don't listen to the purists when they're telling you that that you're not worthy of creating music because you don't understand the theoretical stuff that's going on. Know enough to create the music in your software if that's where you're working, or know enough to create the music with your instrument. You know, if you're playing a guitar, have at it. Just make noise, have fun, and get better as you go. Don't worry about people telling you need to have a certain skill set or a certain understanding of different, you know, the theoretical stuff. It's not important. What's important is the end result, and what's important is the audience. That's who you're making music for. Even if the audience is just you, the important thing is communicating the emotion, the feeling of the music to the audience. It's not to tell somebody else that you know more than them about music theory. So that's my rant about music versus music theory. So yeah, go out and make some music and don't think so much about stuff. Bye.